So I'm Justin Young from the English department, and I oversee the first year writing program there. So the world of AI is coming at us rapidly, those of us who are particularly concerned about student writing and how to teach student writing. But that's also just about all of us, ideally, I hope, at the university care about how we're interacting and engaging with students in terms of their writing, particularly with the brave new world that we're entering in terms of AI. But it isn't just writing, right? This isn't just about how we support students using AI in ethical and effective ways in terms of their writing. It's also about what we can do as educators to figure out how to use AI to more effectively teach, to support students as learners, to reach students as individuals and connect with them. And so I'm really excited to introduce Travis Massengale from Eastern Washington University. He's a professor of design, so he's coming from an industry, an area of expertise that will not survive without AI in the future, right? They've got to jump in and start using it immediately. And he's here to talk with us all about really creative and innovative ways that we can engage with AI to support our students and also to help ourselves a bit as faculty members, as busy faculty members as we are, or busy staff members as it may be. So without further ado, take it away.
Just going to do a quick mic check. Everybody good? Good? Okay. Hi, I'm here to talk about exploring AI in education. I'm Travis Massengale. Oh, this slide deck will be shared out with the English department. Toby has a copy too. Everything in it is yours to do what you will with, share information wants to be free. Hi, I'm an associate professor. I'm 2 letters. The provost and the president just have to send me their letters. Gosh, dang it. And I'll be full professor. I'm the chair of the college personnel committee, and I keep getting everybody else's letters. I'm like, where's mine? I consider myself a professional learner. I'm in the best place possible for that to happen. Long ago, I read a book with this term, specialists in obscure details, and that's kind of my favorite tagline for myself. Thank you, MSU, Denver, Dr. Justin Young, Dr. Andreas Mueller, and the team. And thank you for being here despite your probably busy schedules, because I think you're at the end of your semester. So thanks for taking time to come listen to me yet another talk. I appreciate it. So I've been asking this question. I've been doing these talks since May, talks like this, and everyone I've asked, have you used an LLM yet? Could I get a show of hands? How many? Oh, large language model like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, anything like that. So better. My first talk, actually only 10 people showed up. The library told me there'd be 100 people and only 10 people showed up, so I got really good practice. And then fall quarter, I got to do a whole tour around the college doing it. And my first talk was to the science College of Science, Technology, Engineering, and only 3 out of 50 professors had raised their hands. And so I was like worried, but I was like, oh, I'm not behind. Just some history. ChatGPT 4 is the current model from OpenAI. Claude 3 is the current model from a company called Anthropic. They're an offshoot of OpenAI. And then Gemini is Google's current model. As I'm talking, think about how technology could be used in your discipline area, in your teaching, to add enhancements. Just keep an open mind. And lastly, I got really, really lucky, kind of lucky. I proposed my professional leave in 2021. It was denied. The dean went to bat for me because I'm like, it's coming. I promise it's coming. The dean went to bat for me. It was approved. And just as I was about to go on leave, ChatGPT was released. And I had the best professional leave ever. It's proved to be the dean's best investment. So I'm still paying. Yeah, I'm still paying for it. Did you know? So to sell it to those science faculty, I was like, how do I get them to believe this is something they could use? And the best way I could think was like time. None of us have enough of it. There's only 8 hours in a week, so I just worked with a conversational prompt with ChatGPT to create this diagram, and it made the diagram for me. And if you've ever made a pie chart out of data, it can take quite a bit of time. This took me 5 minutes to make with ChatGPT. Also, I gave us a generous 50 hours a week as professors, and for a full weekend off. So. So if you feel like you don't have any time, you really don't. So that's how I did it. It was pretty easy. This was my prompt right here. And I just had a conversational prompt with it. It was nothing. If I was really going to do, I would probably sit down and do something what's called a structured prompt and make something a lot better. But for demonstration purposes, it worked quite well. Probably need to define some terms. We all throw around AI right now like it's like just AI everything. We're talking about a specific type of AI, but what is AI? The broad field of computer science that focuses on creating intelligent machine capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as learning, problem solving, decision making, interacting with the environment. Sounds a lot like what we want our students to do. A better image of it, what you can think of it, but we have machine learning, expert systems, robotics, computer vision, natural language processing. Under machine learning, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning. So these are all types of AI. So when we're talking, but what are we talking about it when we're talking about it with ChatGPT? More definitions for you, just really like drive it home. Right? But there's a lot going on. When we say it, we're really, right now, our whole culture is just throwing around this idea of AI, but we're really talking about a really thin slice of it, and actually one of the most advanced parts of it right now. Large language models. Large language models are a form of machine learning. Large language models utilize deep learning. Large language models special in language. So, they're a new type of AI. They signify advancements in the field, particularly natural language processing. So, what I'm specifically talking about today are ChatGPT, Gemini, Microsoft's Copilot. You can access ChatGPT through it. If you don't want to pay for you can get the most advanced version of ChatGPT through Microsoft's Copilot. There's just some, you don't get a history. Claude 3, and then image generation, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, DALL-E 3, Leonardo AI, and things I'm not talking about, but that are available, are sound generation, so voice, music, and then video generation, which is, we're on the cusp of seeing a lot of stuff. You're going to see a lot of news about it in the next couple months. So what I'm going to talk about mostly today are these three models. ChatGPT, what it's good for, it's got a great code interpreter, so if you're writing any code or trying to do anything with HTML. And then you can extend it through what are called GPTs. You can build mini apps that are reproducible through the pro version. So pretty cool stuff. So you can make it do more than it's supposed to, right? Anthropic's Claude 3, large context windows. Think a book, so you could have a conversation with a book. Or maybe you're doing some research and you have an article that you just can't wrap your head around. You can, or a white paper or a research paper. You can put it in there and have a conversation with it, right? You can put two of them in there and find comparisons and differences. Okay, Gemini 1.5. Gemini 1 is out. It's great. It's Google's version. Gemini 1.5 is in beta. And what the big deal about it is 1 million token context window. We're thinking that's how much you can put into it. Not one book, but multiple 500-page books. Lots and lots of information, and have conversations with it. It's also, Google's Gemini is excellent at explaining things. So Anthropic's Claude is the best writer and can surprise you with its outputs in terms of like, oh, that feels a little too uncanny valley humanish. So this was a slide I forgot to take out, but it's my one place. It was my reminder to tell you, I'm here to talk about the use of a tool, and my area isn't ethics. I'm aware of all the ethic problems. My area isn't philosophy. My area is design and teaching the next generation how to design with these tools, and it's turned into how to educate with these tools. what I would always suggest to when it comes up, I'm like, bring somebody in that's an ethicist, bring somebody in that's their area. You don't want me talking about that stuff. We'll go off the rails, okay? Bring those specialists in that have been researching AI in those areas to talk about those things. And they're important things to talk about. But I'm here to talk about the tool and how it can help improve your research, your class, and our connection with our students. Obviously, that's my vulnerable place, so I need to share it with you. These models we're talking about, this new term just popped up this past week, are called frontier models. I'm pretty sure Ethan Mollick, he's a professor at the Wharton School of Business in Pennsylvania. It's in his new book. He can't stop saying it, so now it's in my head. So I'm like just passing it on like a nice, good meme. So again, ChatGPT 4, Anthropic's Claude 3. It doesn't matter which one you pick. They're all a little bit different flavor, but they're all now like working on the same level. Okay, I've been using ChatGPT the longest, so the way that I prompt it work, I can get it to do what I want better because I've been using it for so long. It's just a subtle, like I would think of like a Washington accent to Denver accent to California. Like there's just subtle colloquialisms, and I would say the same thing exists in the models. So, but they're all awesome. So. My initial experiences, novel and clumsy, I would say rudimentary at best. If I had one takeaway from you today, learn how to use the tool. Like, don't be afraid of it. Use it for everything. Like asking it why you can't swallow gum because your 5-year-old asks you. Ethan Mollick suggests, and I believe, it takes 10 to 20 hours to use the model to get past it going, wow, oh wow, to finally like, what if I did that? Could I do that? How would I do that? Like, and you got to, I feel like even for students, we got to get them past the wow part so we can start doing things with it that we didn't think we could do with it. So, what I've been using it for the past couple of weeks, prep work for counseling and therapy, equipment budget requests formatted really nicely for my chair, explained the myth of gum swallowing to my 5-year-old and destroyed my myth from I didn't know why, and now I know. So we can't digest gum, and gum can hurt kids because their digestive tracts are too small. Writing a thoughtful, critical yet kind response to an independent study student, why they received a C in the course. Initially it was harsh, and it helped me soften up the tone. The student thanked me for being honest, and I was like, yes, okay, I nailed it. Working on a predictive course schedule. We're trying to figure out how to predict a whole year's schedule for our department based on 3 prior years of information. If you've ever tried to do that, you need a computer scientist or a nice expensive piece of software. We're trying to figure out how to do it and then share it with the whole university. Getting very close. Because then the models are getting better, so they're like, oh, it's easier. Rubrics, who likes to make rubrics for new assignments? I like to make them, but sometimes, right, it's a little bit, this is a quicker, you can take an old rubric that's good and just have it like this, here's my new assignment, I'd like it to look like this, here's the learning outcomes, and it can create a rubric, or as Elizabeth said in the English department, a shitty rough draft of a rubric for you to like form into something even better. And then I'm continuously running my old assignments through these to make sure that my language is clear for the students. Is this clear? Do they understand it? I understand. I think my assignments are genius, but guess what? They're not. They need steps. Right now I'm teaching freshmen. I haven't taught freshmen for 2 years. They need lots of instructions, and it's helping me do that. Instead of getting angry and like, why can't you see my genius? So, convenience and daily tasks. Initially, I used to rewrite emails. I'd rage write emails to different faculty or the dean, and then have it make it nicer. It's taught me how to write nice emails, so I can just write them that way now. It's calibrated me. Recipes and shopping lists at the grocery store. I was just testing out to see if it could do that. Appeal a credit card charge. That was the best thing ever. Like, walked me right through it, told me exactly what to do step by step. Airbnb reviews. You can write really excellent Airbnb reviews with it too. So, but something you might be interested in, writing and research. Outlining and developing ideas for books and business plans for apps, paper and presentation outlines, including title suggestions, article summary and reflection insights, searching for grants, peer review, searching for peer-reviewed articles and research based on topics I'm interested in. These two tools, Cite.ai and Consensus App, they're AI tools for research. They're awesome. I forgot to mention it yesterday in the English workshop. I'm sorry. We ran out of time. It was so, but those two, I cannot express enough how much they could elevate or help with your research. They're still the same. They're $20 a month. They're the same, but they have betas. You can try them and see if they're for you. There's one more, and I forgot to put it in my talk. I'll email to Justin and get it out. Yeah, it's an expanding horizon opportunity to reevaluate paradigms, the way we've been doing things. AI advancements provide opportunities, specifically generative AI and large language models. We can enrich inclusivity and diversity. This sentiment resonates with Maurice Cherry's call for designers to take responsibility for improving diversity across the board. I would say educators, and serve as a leveling mechanism specifically for first-generation students. In my field, the hottest area in design right now is computational design. I was a first-generation student. I luckily was good at math, but most of my students, when they come and they asked to declare our majors, like, do I have to take math? And I'm like, and so our web design, our web development courses, our UX, some of our advanced UX courses, computational design, they have to have an aptitude for math. And so when I was getting ready for, or looking to write about an abstract to propose to a conference in New York last May, I was like, wait a minute, I think this tool might be able to help our students have that tutor, have that support. Our first, because Eastern's, I think 36% first generation student. And it rang true for me because I didn't have that help. And I was like, what if this tool could be used to help first generation students navigate higher ed because they don't have anybody else in their corner and they're doing it all on their own. What will AI look like in the future classroom? Oh, everything in this slide deck was generated by me through Midjourney to go with my slides. Undetectable, ubiquitous, transformative. I'm stealing this from Ethan Mollick. I believe it as well, and I like it, so I stole it from him. I borrowed it. I cited him in the back of the deck. Detecting AI, can you detect AI writing? No. But what about AI writing detectors that claim to do that? They don't work. They're 50% at best, false positives for English as a second language, even false positives. There's a big meme of professors that are putting their writing in from their college and it's flagging it as AI writing. And that's my favorite thing when professors are showing that too. It's not that we shouldn't detect AI, but I bet you're better at detecting AI writing than the detectors are, because how many times can we delve into the realms? And in conclusion, right? But you're also probably equally well at detecting bad writing in general. And so bad AI writing is bad writing in general. And some of you are like, I am good at detecting AI writing. You are, but AI detectors aren't, okay? And you might think you're good at detecting AI writing, but you're just good at detecting bad AI writing in a student who hasn't learned how to prompt. For example, so this would be a passive prompt. Write a paper for me about World War I. Pretty simple instructions. If you read this, it's silly. A little bit more complex. Oh, write it the way a high school might do it. So now we've focused the AI into as a high school student, right? Now, don't make it slangy and casual. Make the writing more like an answer to a school assignment, but still something a high school student would write. Don't make it so complicated. So once a student's been shown how to prompt like this, they can get the machine to write what you might want and might expect, right? Add that with a little bit of editing, and your ability to detect goes way downhill, right? So what we're really experiencing is the students just don't know how to use the tool yet. Right? So, but here's an example of a structured active prompt. We turn it all into an active prompt, and we get write a paragraph about causes of World War I the way a high school student might write it. We've basically told the AI to act like a high school student, okay? And we've asked it to write a paragraph. And then instructions, we've given it instructions. Much more complex than write me a paper or do my assignment, right? And our programming has become the English language. We're telling it what to do. We're programming the AI, right? It's a robot. It's just a tool with the English language. So writing becomes ever more important. And so students, my hope is students realize, like, oh, I can get better at it if I learn to write better. Like, that's the sell, right? Okay, that might be a little too ambitious. It's ubiquitous. The tool is everywhere. It's as of September, available to over 1 billion people were using ChatGPT, and I am sure that's grown since then. Rich or poor, there's equal access. Not quite, but yes. Everybody can get access through Microsoft Copilot, but real access is $20 a month. But coffee, we're a tool that makes you supercharged, right? I don't quite agree with Ethan Mollick that it's like it's free to everyone. There still is a digital divide. Much more the reason that universities get in, and we get subscriptions for all students and all faculty. So, if anybody's listening. When people say, well, it's not really happening, it'll be fine, it's a fad, what you usually hear about in the news and see is the corporate movement. OpenAI, Anthropic, Claude, Google, the big companies. That's what you're hearing about. You don't hear about the open source community called Hugging Face. They have 400,000 models, 100,000 data sets, and 150,000 apps. Anybody can go there, download models, and run them on their computers. Any 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 16-year-old boys who don't have anything else to do in the world and figure out computers like I did when I was 16, right? They have the time. Anybody that has the time can do it. It's out there. This is where the real work, I think, is really happening. So it also scares me because the big companies are trying to sell it to us in a nice, beautiful silo, and it's safe. There are no guardrails here except for what's ethical. And so this is my call to you to use it as an educator so you can teach students how to use these tools ethically. We don't quite know what to do with this technology yet, but there was a 20 to 80% performance increase in white-collar tasks. This was reported in December, and the sources at the back of the slide deck. Again, from Ethan. I'm pulling most of the stuff from Ethan Mollick because he's the educator at the forefront of this research and doing it. It's white paper sourced. For reference, a study found that, so if we go back, a study found that the spread of steam power accounted for 11% of the increase in labor production between 1850 and 1880. So in 1 year, we're getting the same level of production. This comes with a problem. What's the problem? People are losing their jobs as well, right? It's happening. Daily you can read about it. My hope is that we're in a transition state because new jobs will be created through AI, but that's my hope. But for you, what it means is you have a limited amount of time. If you're like me, you're being asked to do more and more as an educator. And here's a way that you can maybe make some space, have an assistant. Okay. So it's a transformative enabler. I didn't set my timer. There we go. Okay. Democratize access, specialized knowledge. I call it a leveling agent. Can create rapid competency, help create an inclusive environment. A new survey found that over half the people using AI at work are doing so without their approval, and 64% have passed off AI work as their own. This is just my one place to say, be transparent when we use it, and we tell students to be transparent when we use it, that there's nothing wrong with using it, and we just be transparent about our use of it. I think I said this yesterday, I think we're just in a 2-year space where we're gonna have to do that, and pretty soon everybody will just be using it, and no one will say it. It'll just be assumed that you are. But while we're doing that ethically, we should say that we use AI to create content, okay? Unless you're emailing your dean. Real quick, I'm going to do a prompting primer for you. Some of you, it might be old. Some of you, it might, but enable to use certain terms. I just wanted to run through this. I had to add the end of my deck, and I was like, wait, I just said a bunch of stuff without defining the terms, so I'm just going to talk about that right now. How you guys doing? Just broke the fourth wall, right? Okay, good, okay. What is prompting? It's how we interact with the LLM. It's English, the English language. The language is our interaction. Isn't that awesome? Who has better command of English than our writers, but also our academics? You've been using it for a long time, right? To really describe things and get specific. It refers to the process of providing text input to the model. And so my students called ChatGPT, just, if I say it, they call it chat or they call it Chi-Chi. Don't ask me where it comes from, but they've nicknamed these things in my classes that we're using it in. So Conversational prompting, it's what you do normally. It's just a conversation with the model, right? For most of what you do, like with my son, I said, hey, why shouldn't we swallow gum, right? And we had a conversation and asked them more questions about what is the thing that the body doesn't break down, right? That's a nice conversation. But if we're gonna do real work and get real results, we wanna use structured prompting, okay? Turning the model into a tool that does a single task well in a way that is repeatable and adapts to its users. Specificity and clarity, we want to provide context, length and detail, guide the response, and we could even trigger modal response capabilities, like don't go on until I answer this question. Wait till you have enough information. If you don't understand it, ask me for more information. So, what do these look like? Oh, I'm going to go through actually a quick example. So one of my students, Anthony Carlson, is doing great. He developed this in my first run AI and design class this last fall, and I have his permission to use it. I just thought instead of recreating it, I would just show you his work because he did a really good job. So key components, clarity of intent, providing content, specificity in prompts, and guiding the model behavior. Well-structured versus poorly structured. Tell me something about AI and the environment. AI lives on a desk, right? That even if someone came to you, what would you probably say? What do you want to know? You wouldn't just, right? Instead, create a summary of the latest research on the use of AI in environmental conversation. The summary should include key findings, methodologies used, and potential applications in real-world scenarios. Please limit the summary to about 300 words and ensure it's suitable for an academic audience. That's a nice prompt, right? Very specific. So clarity. Create a summary of the latest research, so exactly what we want. Specificity. Context. AI. Context is one of the most important things. And the best way to think about it is AI is a giant, just if you just looked around in a circle and it's just a cloud of information. And if you don't give it specificity, it's like, oh, I'm a preschool teacher and I'm going to tell you about environmental conversation, right? It's just going to pick an area of expertise. But if you say, act as an environmental scientist with a PhD in blah, 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 right? I don't know what to say there, the rest of that, right? But then you narrow its focus in, you say, focus in this area. Pick information from this area. And then guidance. If you've ever worked with ChatGPT or other models, it's very verbose, likes to really just run on and give you more and more and more and more. So you can say, limit that to 300 words. Limit that to 5 bullet points. So this is a prompt I used for almost a year. Not almost, yeah, almost. I basically had I would tell it to act as a prompt generator robot and to ask me questions about what I wanted. And I have a conversation with it. The end output was a prompt that I would use then. So I was using the robot to create the prompt. I don't know if anybody has seen this before, but when I saw it, this really changed how I used the tool, and I was getting much, much, much better results from it. Then once I took a class called Prompt Ops and really talking about this and really labeling these things, and these started coming out, these ways of writing prompts, structured prompts came out. So providing or having it act as or you are, and now a lot of people have just rolled that into context and giving it criteria and giving it instructions. And then I'm going to roll through some examples of this. Doing pretty good on time. And these are all in the slide deck for you to copy and paste and morph and change and do what you want with them. Okay? These are fun to create, right? Just on your own, like in all your spare time, making quizzes. So now you have an assistant, that TA that you've always wanted, right? You can get it to direct exactly as you want, right? There's even been some professors that are developing Python scripts to basically upload this stuff to Canvas for them. So. Beyond my capabilities, but I'm like, go for it, dang. So. So you can have a conversation. You can build a prompt to have a conversation with the prompt to do things you want to do. And you might come across things you didn't even realize you wanted to do, right? It's like having that best friend that never gets tired of talking to you.
What would happen on that last slide if you didn't say, wait for my response after every step-by-step instruction?
It would just go, yeah. So you want that thing is in there. And sometimes you have to remind it, like, hey, I said wait, right? And so.
Can you just say really
Yeah.
quickly, what we're talking about is multi-step prompting,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So you might want to say a quick thing about that so that people can differentiate between like prompts that just go
Yeah.
to.
So like a conversational prompt. So if you did this without a multi-steps, it would just pour out. You would answer it real quick, and then it would just go and create the content for you. You wouldn't be able to give it more information. So. And so normally, without that multi-step, it's just going to do everything and try to figure out what you want based on what you gave it initially, and you're not going to have the chance to give it more information. So.
Are there other ways to say wait for my response? Or does it just, is that like a key phrase?
Yeah, there are many ways.
Like, hold on, partner.
Yeah, you can tell it however you want. This is just one example. Yeah, there's about 20 different ways, a billion different ways to say it. So however you want it to, however you start to work with it. So yeah. No, you know,
sometimes you say please.
No, you don't have to say please. I just like, just in case they ever, I'm just really nice to them, you know. Just in case. So here's an example of a very, very complex prompt. You wouldn't just sit down and write. This would take a while to create, right? You probably work with the AI to create something like this. But this is the level that you can get with prompting. It's not just do this for me, or hey, I want. It can be real work to do here and get here. This could take an hour or two to get something this good, right? And then here's one for a student. And both of these are from Ethan Mollick, and his examples. And so here's another one for a student that you can give to a student. So a student can ask AI to act as a tutor in whatever subject they're having trouble with. And you could make one of these for your class for your student, right? You could make one for your syllabus, right? Like just have them copy and paste it and ask questions to the syllabus instead of you. So.
Why would you want to do that?
What's that?
Why would you want to do that for your student? To give this to your students? Like what is the goal? What is the upside of that?
So that they can help themselves. So that they can, maybe you have a student who's unsure, but they don't want to ask you the question because they're afraid that you're going to judge them. Maybe they just need to go over it again and you're not available. Maybe they have more questions than you have answers to, right? Really, to create a self-driven learner. And again, you don't have all the time. So AI in the classroom. We can create diverse entry points to accommodate varied student experiences. All of our students come in at different levels of learning, different levels of motivation, and different metaphors they live by, different lived experiences. We can create customized experiential learning paths inside the same classroom. Something that if I said that right now, you need to create a different assignment for every student in your classroom because each of them has a different lived experience. You'd say, that sounds honorable and noble, and I would love to, but I only have 168 hours in a week, right? But you want to, right? It can be a critical enabler, allowing students to acquire foundational knowledge intuitively and acquiring new knowledge in the metaphors they live by. I don't know if I have any math teachers in here, but I always pick on not pick on math teachers, I pick on the athletes in the math courses. And usually a mathematician might not be somebody who's heavily immersed in the world of sports and sports language. And so they might not be speaking the same metaphors as a football player, right? The student challenges, our students, my students, I think you guys have this, I was talking to the English department, have the same student body. Sounds like social obligations, part-time jobs, sometimes full-time jobs, limited time. They need scaffolding. They turn out to be enablers. They're flexible, they're resource efficient. But students often confront a unique set of barriers that can restrict their full engagement in specialized disciplines. A lot of them just don't have, they want to, they just don't have the time, or they don't have the scaffolding, or they don't have the support from years of academics in the family. This need for inclusivity and diversity in education resonates with Catherine Sheath Singer's call for inclusive pedagogy and universal approaches for diverse learning environments. Generative AI can assist faculty teaching outside their cultural comfort zone, and those faculty teaching students diverse in terms of nationality, ethnicity, communication style, cultural context, ability, socioeconomic circumstances, and educational background. We have an assistant that can help with one of our biggest problems in higher ed. But that we need levels of adjustment. We can expect more from students. We can expect better papers. When I found out English teachers, on general, read 120 papers a quarter, is that right? Just 120?
No, I would say that would be for assignment.
Per assignment. That's my joke. Thank you. We can increase our standards. So if they have this assistant to help them write or help do assignments, we can say we can expect more from them, right? Better pedagogy, less work. Explanations for concepts and context of a group metaphor or for an individual. At the beginning of a class, you can say, hey, class, what would you like the group metaphor for this class to be? You can come up with it, and you can go back to ChatGPT and start using that group metaphor in everything and have it rewrite your stuff in that group metaphor. Generate new testing material that's time consuming, right? Especially what everybody's so worried about their stuff being put on Chegg and other test sites. Now we have a tool to fight against that, right? Save time, we get better teaching. So here's back to my football player and my mathematician. So when I was talking to little water break. Science department, this was my kind of like, how do I get them? And I was like, the quadratic equation, the killer, right? And so I had to act as a smart, non-technical, liberal arts educated person, explain the quadratic equation, basically something you get out of a textbook, okay? Then I was like, act as a college football coach, explain the quadratic equation. It was like, it had to explain it through the parabola of they need to kick a field goal, they need to understand that, and I was like, oh, that's genius, right? That's the language they speak, and they need to calculate that. And then in it, it says, just like football, math takes practice, and you have to show up every day. I was like, yes, you know. And then the last one, I was like, oh, I want to see what it could do with this. So I said, act as a stay-at-home mom to two teenage twins, a boy and a girl, explain the quadratic equation, use the metaphor of twins. It went deep into the science of genetics and stuff. It was like cool, like way past my head, but like a scientist could probably like, hey, check this out. And all the science kids could be like, yes. But different avenues for different students, right? So case studies and research. The following examples showcase AI being used to facilitate personalized learning, interactive discussions, research processes, and ethical inquiry. I just finished teaching the second run of an AI plus design class, and it really turned into like how to use AI. And we were in the vein of design, but a lot of it came into like how AI can be used to enhance learning. That's what I got out of it. First thing I had my students do, I teach photography too, so I always have my students do self-portraits, but I was like, what if they did a self-portrait? What would that be like in AI? And really just getting them in the model, what to do, have a conversation with it. So students craft a prompt that encourages the large language model to ask them questions about themselves. This is the assignment. It's really, really simple. It's like the icebreaker, right? And so this student had asked, can you create a list of questions to discover what my interests are? And so it pours out this list of questions, and the students sit there and have a conversation with AI. Oh, I should mention, Justin's like, don't forget to mention data. The first thing I do is go over and show them where they can turn off the data controls and they can control their information in the program, so they have control. Most of them don't, they just don't care these days. But ethically, as a professor, it's my job to show them where that information is, and hopefully later on they might care. So just know that I do show them that, and I'm just not having them feed the models with all their data. So this student turned her life into a table, and I just learned so much about them too, and then drafted as a narrative over here for me to read, and I get to know I really get to know my students. This student, then they take their narrative and they turn it into a metaphorical interpretation. This student I know the student well, but she loves Japanese culture, wants to live in Japan. I get a feel for who they are and what they're thinking about. And then her self-reflection. I learned when they reflect on this, they tell me a bunch of stuff. This student thinks they overcomplicate the processes. They did not. And I just learned so much about them from this one simple exercise. I get to know them, and I get to like figure out just one thing. This student had it write it as a horror story. I was like, oh, and then rewrite it as a romance novel, and then rewrite it, remixing the two. They're very interesting. If we're talking about, this was my first quarter teaching it, these examples, they're pretty novel, and they're not, well, I hadn't taught them how to like shape the model. I'm just trying to get them in there using it and some time in there. So the next thing I have my students is define AI and design with ChatGPT. And so basically you could do this with any discipline, right? And what I'm trying to see is where the limits are. Like, what does ChatGPT know and what doesn't it know? Like, where does it run out of bounds, and how can it help? Okay. So they had craft 3 initial prompts, create 3 different prompts aiming to extract definitions or explanations concerning AI and design. For example, define the intersection between artificial intelligence and design. How do AI and design collaborate in modern settings? Explain the synergy between AI technologies and the field of design. The first quarter of the questions the students asked just surprised me, what they were interested in, what they were coming up with to ask. And so I give them this initial prompt, but most of them work their own prompt, and this is that prompt generating robot prompt. And this is the first quarter, fall quarter. This is some of their questions. Define to me what design is by a person compared to design created by AI. How can I be sure that I'm not using someone else's work when using AI to enhance my own design? So there's a lot of worry about what the computer would do versus what the student could do. How do I prevent AI stolen content? What should I look for? Explore the ethical considerations surrounding the use of AI in graphic design. So some really good ethical questions. I didn't prompt them to ask these. This is what they came up with. Second quarter, the assignment was a little deeper into the class. I helped them prompt a little bit more. These were their questions. Define the intersection of AI and design, emphasizing essential concepts and showcasing applications that demonstrate the collaborative relationship between artificial intelligence and design principles. So they put these in, and then they have a conversation. Second quarter, I had them prompt all 3 models and work with them and see the differences between the models. First quarter, we were just using ChatGPT. Lastly, I'm going to run through this one real quick so we can do questions. This is my vulnerability spot. This is my experiment with AI, and this is where I think we can get to creating individualized learning pathways for students. It's a little bit of work up front, but each student creates a set of 3 assignments based on prompts and templates that I give them. And so I'll use this complex prompt called Dr. Synapse, but we don't need to use that anymore. The models have gotten better, so you can just use that like prompt generating robot prompt for that. We get curricular customization based on the individual's interests and needs. Through an intricate prompting experience, students engage in an intellectual and technical exploration of generative AI. It takes a little work. I'm introduced to more complex prompting. This is what the prompt looked like. So this is a level that a prompt can get to. So when people say, well, it just doesn't work or just spit stuff out, I'm like, oh, you're really not you haven't really been introduced to prompting and how complex it can get and how we can talk to these machines. here's the assignment. I'm going to zip through it a little bit, and then I'll just talk. So they develop a prompt. They have a conversation with AI. They develop a prompt, what they're interested in. And then they create an advanced image generation prompt, an advanced presentation on a social, cultural, or technological aspect of AI, then an advanced personal project. Okay. And the turn-in for this is a Google document that I basically edit with them for a week, because some students want to build a whole app in 5 weeks, and I'm like, oh, you can't do that. And once she's like, yes, I can. I'm like, no, you can't. And then the next week she emailed me, she's like, you're right, I can't. And I'm like, good. But so I give them this Google Doc as a template. This is their template that they use. They work with the prompt. It designs the assignment with them. I'm there as a calibration technique of like, that's not a good outcome. That's a good outcome. This is a good. And by the time we're done, it takes about a week to do this. We have 3 personalized projects for each student that have learning outcomes, that have deliverables. Is it a little bit of work? Yes. But there's no way I could ever even attempt something like this without ChatGPT or tools like it. How we doing? It's good? Last thing, challenges and solutions. Integrating emergent design technologies such as generative AI. I also teach augmented reality and computational design into curriculum. Presents transformative possibilities and formidable challenges. One of first-generation students usually don't have the tools to do this stuff. Challenges that we have in higher ed are, I've listed 10 here. I'm going to talk about 3 of them. Plagiarism, what is it now in this new world we live in? We need to, I think, rethink what it is. Copyright issues, stuff generated right now with AI isn't copyrightable. We need to tell our students that if we're going to have them creating that, and if we're going to also create it, right? If we're using it in our research, where's that line, right? And we're being transparent. And then finally, faculty proficiency. We've got to get faculty trained up on this, and we got to get them to buy into it. And my buy-in is like, it'll save you time. And we need the institution to invest in it. These are some ideas about that. So, embracing this new pedagogical tool, we fortify the foundation for a diverse, responsible, and open, insert your discipline here, the unique perspectives of first-generation students and those from various backgrounds become an invaluable asset rather than an educational challenge to overcome. So, I think I'm just going to zip through these last few. We should develop faculty and student workshops. Go. Denver MSU. Good job. So, there are lots of problems and risks involved.
So do we have questions? I've got a mic that I can hand to people to ask questions.
I have a burning question.
A burning question. All right, we'll get it started with, we'll get the roof ready to knock.
Well, I teach Earth and Atmospheric Sciences and Physical Geography, and I'm really interested in what you're saying about DEI partly because my experience so far is kind of the opposite. I feel like students with less comfort in science and even less English language proficiency, like may not even understand what I'm asking in the assignment, are, to me, obviously plugging it in to ChatGPT and just getting an answer and plopping it in the homework assignment. And so it's actually worse for them.
Yep.
Because it sort of sounds like academic English, but I want to hear in their own words, like what they see in the map or why they think this phenomenon is happening, and that whole thing is being missed.
Yep.
So I'm really curious, like how I can turn that around.
About, like creating, so that'd be more about like helping to create prompts that help them learn and have a discussion with the content, rather than just taking your content and like answer this question, right? And so that's like help me understand this, which is an active way of using the tool versus do this for me. Right? And most people are doing the do this for me. Most students are, right? How do we get there? this is the first steps, right? Even knowing that, oh, that's a problem. Okay, how would we develop prompts that help students learn the information versus just get the answer because they're just trying to get the A or whatever. Yeah. Does that help? I don't know. I could sit with you and help you.
Yes. I mean, I think because it's so visual, geography, in a way, I'm lucky maybe because the ChatGPT can't read a map. So, right? I mean, it's not visual.
It can.
So it can't, I mean, so they're not answering the question because they're not telling me what they see in the map or what phenomena or where. I guess it's probably a matter of time. But yeah, maybe I could work on how I prompt it so that if they don't know what I'm asking, they could ask it something that would help them actually learn.
It's changing what we expect, right?
Yeah.
Okay, they can get the answer, so now how do I change what I want, right, from them? So.
I can grab the mic here.
Sorry.
Hello?
I'll just say let me just add a quick thing because, I'm facilitating, so I get to say a little bit. I'll just say really quickly that one of the things that I learned from Travis was creating prompts and having students create prompts where you directly tell the robot not to do the work for you. Right? You say, do not do the work for me. Ask me questions to help me figure out what to do. So tell it to ask you questions to help you complete the thing as opposed to do the work for me, right? So tell the robot it's a world-class geography professor that is a consultant designed to help me as a student. Don't do the work for me. Ask me questions to help me figure out what the hell my teacher wants me to do. You don't need to add that last part. But
And then you can have them, I have my students share all the prompts so I can see their conversations, so I can see what they, like if they just went straight for the answer, if they actually had a conversation.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. So my career aspirations have a lot to do with multi-dimensional peacemaking and so on. And I'm actually currently scribing something having to do with English, and I call it Englitch, because of the fabric of why this language was created, or land gauge. And I have a petition to the English Oxford Dictionary. It has over 100 signatures. And my point here is the AI can't distinguish social contexts unless you tell it to. And so say, for example, a white supremacist wants to use it to try and further their problem, their mental health issue. The idea, for example, of my petition is people have changed dictionaries, command, prompt over time, language changes over time. I'm asking them to change the definition of fair, so it only has the first two, equity, gathering place, county fair, but it doesn't skinnedness. And so light hair, skin, and eyes. If you say something isn't fair, you, by context, might not be trying to make that denote. But because of the fabric of the language itself being made for a colonial context and its understanding, I'm just saying, as we become a globalized society where we need peacemaking and creative solutions to save our planet, we need to be collaborating with other languages instead of making fun of them or trying to marginalize them, which is what the English language naturally does unless we edit it. And I've had mostly people of color agree with what I'm saying. And only non-people of color have disagreed with what I'm saying. And they usually argue that it's a homonym, and that's just the way it is. But for me, I literally have mental health issues from the fact I notice these things, and when I say something's not fair, I'm not trying to say it's not brown, or not light-skinned, excuse me. I'm trying to say it's literally unequitable. And so there's so much deeply rooted in the history and language and social context that I can see this, can be used. I think we need to edit our languages, and AI will follow through, because this is like an ethical problem as well, in my opinion.
Thanks for sharing that. My comment is, please start to learn to use the tool. The more people in the light that use this tool, the better we get at solving some of the major problems in our world. If we ignore it and don't get, these great minds in this room, if you don't get involved and start figuring out how to create better prompts, create better ways for young minds to learn, the dark side wins. So I would encourage you to get involved as deep as you can and use it for everything. And yes, so.
Are you aware of, or do you know how?
Could you use the mic?
Yeah. How Canvas, Blackboard, and other, university computer programs are incorporate AI?
I am not. Thanks for giving me something to look into. I would not be shocked to see an AI integrated module in Canvas next year for probably a premium add-on for the universities.
Is this?
Nice to see, like, you're missing these assignments or.
Yep. Yes. Oh.
Yeah.
Travis, I just wanted to add on to Gabrielle's question. I was really excited by the metaphor possibilities in your last workshop. So I was able to attend the longer version of this workshop yesterday, and one of the key concepts that I was trying to wrap my head around was the differentiation of how you can get the AI to help all of your students understand a concept that's complex in a metaphor that is actually useful to them. And you touched on it, but I just had to say, I think it's really exciting to think about this because I've tried to do this as an educator my entire career. And I know, like just using your example, I have actually tried to explain concepts in my class to an athlete who I know will be more interested because he's talked to me many times about how his passion for football is the reason he's in college. And I'm like, okay, so let me try to break this concept down for you, like this writing concept or whatever. And you can engage one student that way, but it's time consuming and you have 100 students and you can't make 100 metaphors. And this, if I understand its possibilities and its potential correctly, allows the student, once you've taught them how to do it, to get that to happen for them on their own time, which is just fantastic. I just want to say thank you for this wonderful workshop.
Thank you.
Other questions?
What happens when you instruct the GPT to respond in your own voice? Does it try to mimic what it thinks is your voice, or does it make something up? Or what?
So there is a prompt out there. It's called a voice prompt. Marketers have developed it to create marketing in the voice of their company. So, and you can use it you can feed it samples of your writing, and it will make a prompt that will basically write the output in your voice. So if you're writing, let's go the unethical route. Maybe you're writing a research paper, and you're just raw writing. You're just like the shittiest rough draft you've ever wrote, right? And then you're like, take this and write it in my voice. You have a voice prompt, right, that you've created, and then it spits it back out, and then you edit it, and then you do some more editing, and you're getting closer. But yeah, the technology, so I always say, I think academics are some of the most ethical people I know, and they really try their best to like, I say, ride in the light. And so it's our job to use these tools, learn how to use them, so we can teach the younger generation how to use them ethically, right? Where is that line, right? Each of you will have your own, right? The idea that you can create a voice, right, and have something written in your voice immediately, or take somebody else's content, and students can do it too, right? But now that you're aware of it, you can look out for it, right? But the other side is like, I'm usually not, like, I might be interested in that for my own work, but I also am like, what's happened through writing with GPT, right? I've become a better writer without it. It's calibrated me. It's helped me become a better writer. And I'm using it less and less. Does that make sense? Like, and that is, I was telling Jess, I also want to be a better writer, right? But there's potential there. But yes, you can totally do that. Please work in the light, all of you. That's what I say that all the time, so we can show our students that good work can be done in the light. So, yeah.
Like a good way to end the talk. So, work in the light, and thank you all for being here. Let's give Travis a hand.
Thank you.